Part 7. Medium, message, content, changes, go. Bear with me. I majored in communication in college, so I'm very familiar with this. The medium is the message. You may have seen it too, but let's break it down a little and how it relates to what we're talking about. Each medium, independent of the content it mediates, has its own intrinsic effects, which are its unique message. The message of any medium or technology is the change of scale or pace or pattern that introduces into human affairs. The railway did not introduce movement or transportation or wheel or road into human society, but it accelerated and enlarged the scale of previous human functions. This happened whether the railway functioned in a tropical or northern environment, and is quite independent of the freight or content of the railway medium. So, I may have lost you, so let's try it again. Now, with some adaptation. Substitute social media for medium, and I've substituted a few other words as well. The message of any social media or technology is the change of scale or pace or pattern that it introduces into humanitarian affairs. Social media did not introduce conversation or volunteers or maps or texting into human society, but it accelerated and enlarged the scale of previous humanitarian functions. Starting to see where I'm going with this? The social media is the message, because it is the social media that shapes and controls the scale and form of humanitarian association and action. It's pretty hard to deny that social media is changing our world. So, I'm a nuts and bolts guy. What I'm reading here is, if we cannot or are indifferent to absorbing or managing the changes in content, medium, and message, we're missing the potential advantages. We need the infrastructure. We need to be ready. What others are saying. In a recently released document, Disaster Relief 2.0, The Future of Information Sharing in Humanitarian Emergencies, put out by the UN Foundation and other partners, I was able to pull some useful quotes here to kind of give you a picture of what others are saying about this particular need. The report explores, and this is very summarized, but a direct quote, "We need to fundamentally rethink how the humanitarian system manages information in light of the increasingly complex system of networks data flows." It used to be that people showed up at the events with their own clipboard. 10 years ago, they showed up with their own laptop, and now they show up with their own web-based program. But it is still the same problem. None of those can communicate with each other. The reality is that in a disaster cycle, everyone has a piece of information. Everyone has a piece of that picture. The more that people are able to share information data across ecosystems, and the more information that people have to utilize, then we'll really see disaster response really be able to be more effective. I encourage you to read the report yourself, but this passage here summarizes a lot of what's in the document. The report summarizes that there is a great need for attention to be paid to decision-making information management versus the communication pathways that content travels over. Part 8. Start here, start somewhere.